What's the most cathartic thing you've ever done? I cut my mom off after 8 years of being her personal ATM, and it was the best decision of my life. My mom always told me I was her whole world. Growing up, she'd say stuff like, "I gave up my dreams for you," and "I could have been somebody, but I chose to be your mother instead." Made me feel guilty just for existing, you know? So when I turned 18 and got my first job at this crappy tire shop, giving her most of my paycheck felt normal, like I owed her. She kept saying it was temporary, just until I get back on my feet, honey. But those feet never found solid ground. For 8 whole years, I worked my ass off. Days at the tire shop fixing flats and changing oil. Nights bartending drunk college kids and dealing with creeps hitting on the waitresses. I was pulling 70-hour weeks easy. And where was I living? Same beat-up house I grew up in, sleeping in my childhood bedroom with the Batman posters still on the walls. All my friends moved on with their lives. Jake went to college in California. Megan got married and bought a house across town. Here I was, 26 years old, still bringing my mom her morning coffee and asking permission to hang out with people on weekends. Every time I brought up maybe getting my own place or saving some money, she'd hit me with the guilt trip. "I can't afford rent without you, baby. You know I got denied for disability. My back's so bad I can barely stand some days. And you know I can't drive with my condition. So I covered everything. Rent, electric, water, her prescription pills, car repairs when her Honda broke down every other month. I was basically funding an entire household while living like a teenager. One Saturday, she asked me to deep clean the house because her church friends were coming over. I was scrubbing baseboards and organizing closets when I found this drawer in her dresser stuffed with unopened mail, bills, junk mail, and a bunch of official-looking letters from Social Security. One envelope was thick, like really thick. I opened it up and nearly dropped the papers. It was a notice saying she'd been approved for disability benefits 3 years ago. 3 years. And not just approved, she was getting $1,800 a month. My hands were shaking as I dug through the other letters. Bank statements showing regular deposits. She'd been collecting this money for 3 years and never said a word to me. When she got home from her doctor's appointment, which I now realized was probably just grocery shopping or getting her nails done, I confronted her, laid all the papers out on the kitchen table like evidence. She barely looked surprised, just sighed and said she'd been using the money to catch up on old credit card debt and didn't want to worry me with financial details. But I'd seen her bank records. Restaurant charges 3 times a week. Amazon packages showing up constantly. A $400 charge to some spa in the fancy part of town. She wasn't paying off debt. She was living better than me while I worked myself to death. The worst part was realizing she wasn't actually helpless. She drove to the grocery store fine when I wasn't around. She moved furniture when she redecorated the living room. She hosted dinner parties for her friends. All that "I'm too sick to work" stuff was just manipulation to keep me trapped. That night I started packing, just threw clothes and important stuff into garbage bags. She came into my room crying, begging me to stay. "You can't leave me, I'll die without you. I'm sick. You know I'm sick." What kind of son abandons his mother? Same guilt trip that had worked for 8 years. But now I could see it for what it was. Control. I told her about the disability money I found. She got angry then, started yelling about how I had no right going through her private papers. Like that was the real problem here. The next morning I used the last $300 in my checking account to buy a Greyhound ticket across the state. My buddy Carlos said I could crash on his couch until I figured things out. The bus ride was the longest 6 hours of my life. I kept expecting to feel guilty or change my mind. Instead, I felt lighter with every mile. Carlos lived in this tiny apartment, but he made space for me. I found a job at a mechanic shop within 2 weeks. Nothing fancy, but for the first time in my adult life, my entire paycheck was mine. I could buy lunch without calculating if I'd have enough left for my mom's cigarettes. 6 months later, I had enough saved for a security deposit on my own place.